you well. Yeah, I do you well. I do you well.
Good morning, guys. Good morning. As the song done his speaker then I'm plug in. So guys, I promised yesterday that I had told you guys pantily about some things that went down in my younger days. Rickster, big up yourself. And I've decided to come and share my story with you guys. To put in context, see, we have this big platform now. We have this platform, and I am sure, what I'm going to talk about today is something that not only men go through, and I am not the only one that have been through it. So we are going to drift a little bit away from the politics this morning, but as the day progresses, we will pick up that further on. So let me just do my shout out them. Jennifer Jones, big up yourself this morning. You're my top gifter. Kick out Kizzy. King T44, big up yourself. Sexy Gigi, Jack Frost, Christopher, Lily, No Limit, Dark 69, Delores, I remember seeing Delores before, Paulo, Gregory, Labor Yard, Big Woman Monica, Ivan, Easy Maris, Marcia, Sanja, Gertrude, and I don't know how name Optimistic. I think I see Optimistic for 1 hour live already. Big up yourself, Optimistic. And big up to all of the 20 people also watching on the For You page. So we got 25 persons on the live, 27 now. And we have another 20 persons watching on the For You page. So here on screen, where Kizzy? Let me not see Kizzy in a chat a while ago. Kizzy got a For You page though. I mean I see Rickster in a chat either. I see Rickster pop up. See? Greetings, Ivan. See? I want to like up the live. My feel I see you pop up as well. Good morning. And happy birthday to you. Your pretty sister, I see her post up. So here on screen, you got 8 or 9 year old DUJON. I can't remember. A lot of my childhood memories. Are lost to me, guys. I mostly remember the bad stuff them. No, I am not complaining. I've had a okay upbringing. But I'm gonna bring it way back in a time. Good morning, Philippian. See? So this is a 8 or 9 year old DUJON. See? On his way to becoming the greatest laborite alive. See? Jody and good morning. He's Morris. Big up for you gift them, Guys, may I collect a gift them for purchase about 2 or 3 tablets to a school of my choosing in Jamaica. See? And whenever I'm doing that, I will make it presentable to you guys on here. So everybody we send the gift them, big up on yourself. I go keep them, I store them up. When you reach a good amount of money, I go buy some tablets for school, and preferably one infant or a basic school, so the children them can start learn on tablet early. Good morning, Sister Mampy. So here's a I say 9-year-old DUJON, because I went to live with my father and my stepmother at 8 years old. Now, I can jog back my memory to a few occasions. One of my most prevalent memories right now as an adult is my mother locking me and my sister out of her house, and me and my sister going into a old, well, it's not old, it was a house that was building, so you never had in all of the windows and the doors and stuff. I can remember me and my sister going in that building to sleep. I can also remember another occasion. I don't know if enough are we old enough, so I can remember the long time thick D&G buckle them. You know, remember then we used to drink cola champagne out and old time Coca-Cola buckle there. See? I can remember at 7 or 8 years old, my mother sitting on my stomach and beating me in my knees with one of those bottles. You know, that's one of my most prevalent memory. One of my other most prevalent memories, me and my sister fighting, and she running me down, round and round the house. Good morning, Dolores. And I stepped, I ran, and a rusty nail ran up in the bottom of my foot. Father Punkos, good morning. May I have business to discuss, but half a story time. Good morning, Daddy Strength. And I can remember stepping on a rusty nail, and you know, I don't know if my mother never have no money for carry me go to hospital or whatever, but you know, I remember being very ill. I remember my mother tying something down on my face, some kind of bush with nappy. The time that we used to have cloth nappy in the 90s. Who remember that? I can remember my mother tying down my face because I had something like mum's. My face swell up from the rusty nail. I can remember lying in bed, and when the breeze blow under my foot bottom, it hurt. And I remember vividly that it was my father that came to the house and saw me. I don't know if it's the mercy of God, because my father no regular come near my mother. And my father took me to Nepal Hospital down there in Savlamar. See? Yes, Punkos, we had cloth nappies in the 90s. Me did that grow them time there, but I remember my little baby nephew, who I am 5 years older than, and I have a little cousin who me about 5 or 6 years older than, and I remember them wearing cloth nappies down there in Westmoreland. Maybe true no come from town and they did use the huggies and them thing there. See? My God is awesome. I see our request, but I go through the story time before I open the box this morning. See? And I remember the doctor saying to my father at Nepal Hospital down there in Savlamar, saying that if my father had not brought me to the hospital when he did, I would have died because my blood was poisoned. I remember not going to school that often as a child. Morning, Marcia. No. My mother was not rich. You know, so sometimes when we really look back into things, we don't really want, we don't make no excuse. I am the last person to make any excuse for any adult. because I am now an adult and I know that my duty is to go out there and earn so my children who is not able to, you know, can have something to at least eat. Right? Now I remember my mother used to sell on a hand cart, you know, and struggles of life. Right? My father was very upset with my mother because my mother used to have me in that hand cart, especially at night time. She would make a bed in the hand cart for me and I would sleep there. I remember that vividly. And I remember my father, who at the time when I was young, I was a public health inspector, and I remember them serving my mother papers to leave off of the sidewalk. My father did that purposely because he did not want me to be sleeping in the hand cart. Now my mother was also a very, what you call it now, avid gambler. See? My mother would leave me to the mercy of my teenage sister who wanted to go and live her teenage life. And when I recall these stories, you know, and I tell these stories, I am ridiculed, I am ostracized, I am the black sheep of my family. See? Because I am one for the truth. Right? So my mother used to leave me to the mercy of my sister who wanted to live her teenage life. And we don't know how that go. When no mother used to live with the younger one, how we used to vex and carry on. My sister would cook and my sister would not give me any food until she know it's close to my mother coming home. Sometimes my sister would share out her food, and I remember this vividly. She would sit right in front of me and she would eat. She would chop the food on her tongue and show me it on her tongue. See? I also remember vividly that if I needed anything on any given day, I could find my mother at the gambling house. I remember being a child, running up and down on the streets of Russia, down there in Savlamar. In so brief. See? Remember that little pity there? For the life of me, I can understand why persons are reporting this live. Why would they be reporting this live, guys? Guys, you know, share out the live and like up the live. Me not look at now because them a report the live. So me gone in a what you call it? Shadow ban mode. So no share out the live, guys, and like up the live. If you don't want to continue to hear a story, share up the live and like up the live. See? You also tell me if you not hear me because I'm on a yellow signal. So now Punkos, me get a message for you, sir. So we have to discuss that after. You know? I'm going to put up a 21 and over sign. Because them people are looking out there, you see. I probably some of my family member them too, you know, because they don't want me to tell them story. You see me? Okay, so now you hear me. Alright, we're back upon a green signal. So big up to everybody who have been tapping and everybody that been sharing. We're back on a green signal. So I remember when I wanted anything, I could find my mother in the gambling house. Most times I was left to my own devices. You know? Sidebar. Remember one occasion, my mother go a PNP conference and me see her in one van back full of orange people. I go a town, go a conference and she dash one bag give me. And me take up a bag of one slice of pudding. So, me just want to know where Dujon come from and the warrior that Dujon is. You know, but we get to that. Further on. So I go take you back to one occasion. But before I get to the occasion, I go tell you, I can remember one time my father was driving past. Every time my father have one of them Ford Escort vehicle there. You remember them Ford Escort there? One of my favorite car till this day. I have to own one in my life. I drive one day in England. Yeah. Nice. I can remember my father coming round to Russia. Them the time that them used to have in the 90s, the government used to come together and do some massive drain cleaning. And remember that something there? And my father come in our community because he was the head of that project and saw me. And when my father saw me, my skin was in a deplorable condition with sores. My father actually took me. You see, sometimes when adults do things, them not expect children to remember, But I remember all of these things. I've stored them in my memory. And some things I push out of my memory. Sometimes I don't remember them and them just come back to me. See? I was so infested with sores. I remember my father taking me home to my stepmother. And my stepmother used a comb teeth to bust a lot of the sores on my feet, squeeze out the pus. See? And putting in healing powder and purple dressing on those sores. You know, hear me I tell you? Now, I'm going to bring you to fast forward to how I went to live with my father. But before we get there again, there's another part of the story where when I was going to Savlamar Infant School, there would be occasions when my father would pick me up from school and take me to his house. And for a week I would be at my father. And then my mother would come, or she would send someone for me and take me back to her house. So I grew up in a lot of dysfunction, guys. I grew up in a lot of bickering and warring. You know, today, how I am not mentally challenged or how I am not an angry person. You know, I don't know, but thank the Lord. You know, today, although I can be very hostile, I am very loving, I am very caring, I am very kind. And I don't know how. You know. But to the part of the story I want to get to is when I was 8 years old. So no look for me, I did look around skinny. See? My mother would take me by one hand. She would put me across her back. So imagine you take up a rag for go bathe and just dash you over your shoulder. That is what my mother did. See? But before me tell her why before she did that, me tell her why she did that. It was a Saturday morning. And anybody growing up in Jamaica would remember that on Saturday mornings there used to be cartoon marathon on Saturday mornings. Who remember that? Saturday mornings there used to be cartoon marathon on Saturday mornings. Who remember that? My mother was washing And my mother sent me to the house for a wash brush. And by her sending me down to the house, I went to pick up the washing brush. See? And when I pick up the washing brush, I was passing the TV as I ate on the TV and stood there watching it. Calling me, and the tone she used to call me to come here. As a child, you know that you're gonna get beaten. See? I then stood from afar, and by the way guys, because of this very reason, what happened to me at 8-year-old. If I need something, I do not send my children for it. I go and I get it myself. Because of this very reason. See? Now, the tone that she called me on, I decided to stand afar and throw the wash brush to her. Right? By me throwing the wash brush to her and not going when she called me. Right? She got very angry. You know, I can tell you about lots of instances when I was being beaten by a broomstick and I was beaten by a machete and all of these things. All of these things happened to me as a little child in single digits. See? So by me throwing the brush to her, she make off of me, but me run. See? No, you have people who beat, you know, because my stepmother used to beat with belt and slap with and something, but it never so bad. See? My mother used to beat me like me a big somebody. See? But she make off of me and me run. Told my said sister to run me down. My sister run me round and round and round and round the house until me eventually run out of breath. And my sister delivered me to her. And by the way, that sister today, many years later, is still an instigator with my mother. She still backs my mother in any wrongdoing till this day, many years later. See? My mother was to take me and throw me over her shoulder. Like how when you go bathe, you take up a rag and dash up, just throw your rag over your shoulder. My mother took me by one hand and threw me over her shoulder and slammed me down in the ground. She take me up. My mother took me by one hand and threw me over her shoulder and slammed me down in the ground. She take me up. My mother took me by one hand and threw me over her shoulder and slammed me down in the ground. She take me up. Now you imagine as a skinny little baby. Because I cannot imagine. I've never even slapped one of my children before. Never. You know? Now can you imagine taking up a child and just slamming them down on the earth, the tough earth. Now there was this lady, one of our next door neighbor, called Miss Mal. You know? Miss Mal was one of them chango man. When Miss Mal built you here, y'all 1 mile out the road. But big up Miss Mal. Miss Mal actually saved my life that morning. You know? And Miss Mal run out, you know, and call the perpetrator. She called the abuser by name and said that I go kill the pitney. And my mother turned to her and looked at her. And she said, yes, and that me want to do. And that is my most prevalent memory of my mother. I don't ever forget that. I don't ever forget that. That is my most vivid memory of my mother. I remember when my mother let me go. You know, sometimes I still get that feeling. I was so weak. Even now as an adult, anytime I get the weak feeling, they bring me back to the day. You know? And I remember shaking as a child. Ever see a cold puppy yet? I remember shaking, uncontrollable. And by the way, to this day, I still shake. No, my mother does not acknowledge anything that she done to me. She said she beat the whole away. But I was there and I remember all of we get beaten, but I was the worst. All of we get bad treatment, but I was treated the worst. You know? I remember walking to my house. Right? And when I walked to the house, during the 90s, we had some liquor chalkboards that you could have, that was on stand. Right? And my father had bought two of those, one for me and one for my little sister, who lived with him and my stepmother. But he brought me my one. Right? And I remember packing up my chalkboard, and I remember them time that we used to keep black plastic bag in a cylinder head there, so who remember that? In a gas cylinder head. And I remember taking out the plastic bags. I remember going into my drawer. I remember packing up my clothes. And I remember walking through the bush with the chalkboard and both of my arms filled with bags with my clothes. And I walk. I was only 8 years old, but I knew where my dad lived. And I walk what felt like an eternity, but I eventually got there. And when I got there, you know, I did not see my father's car on the drive. So this would have been about 98 now. My father upgrade from the Ford's car. Them the time them have, do you remember I deported them? The Nissan deported, and then they had the AD wagon. Them the time my father just buy a Chris AD wagon, brand new. See? And he came to my yard, I think a couple weeks before this incident, to show me the new car that he had bought. I remember that vividly as well. I remember him driving off and doing tires down the road with that car. I remember how it smelled as well inside. It smelled brand new. Me never forget that. You know? And I walked to my father's house, and when I got there, I did not see my father's car on the drive. So I sat. There was a light post laying down in the lane that my father lived. And I sat with the bags on that light post. Shortly after, I don't know if when I go at the gate to look, my stepmother was on the veranda and she spot me, but me never see nobody. So I went to sit on the light post. And shortly after, I saw my stepmother coming, and she took me. She took the bags from me and she took me to the house. And she called my father. And I was young, I can't tell the amount of time that it took, but I remember my father coming. And when my father saw me, I remember my father dropping to his knees and he cried. My father cried because I was black and blue and yellow all over my body. I was black and blue and yellow all over my body. Guys, when I like up your life, no man. Me tap tell the story, you know. See? And that was it. Right? I would go on to live with my father. And for many years, for about 2 years now, after this incident, I start attending school regular. I go in all I done class them because my mother never sent me go to school on a regular basis. I didn't learn to read fluently until I was 11 years old, 1 year before I did my GSAT. But my father and my stepmother, they worked on me. I finally had a home. I had stability. I had a fixed bedtime. I had 3 square meals a day. I started to get fat. You know, I remember when I was going primary school, my pants tight. Cause I put on so much weight. You know? And I finally had a home with both parents, with a stepmother and a father. You know? And my stepmother was the disciplinarian. My father was hardworking. My father was always at work. My father worked for the government of Jamaica, and he also had a restaurant which my stepmother was the manager of. You know, so he would go to work early in the morning and my stepmother would go to the restaurant and run the restaurant. So I finally had stability. I would go on to do weekend lessons, evening class, Sunday school, summer class. Whatever I could have done, my stepmother would beat me to learn me 2 times table. I remember that. Beat me to learn me times table. Beat me when me do spelling wrong. You know, and I used to hate her for it. But the older I get, I realize that is actually my stepmother. You know, who actually molded me into the man that I am today. You know, my stepmother would make us spell for food, do maths for food, spell for snacks, spell for chocolate, spell for ice cream. You know, and I used to resent her for it. But I realize that even till this day, as a big man, my mother has never taken up a book with me. Good morning, Lexi Lindsay. Now, what would think the story is over? See? So while I was in grade 6, so I am between 11 or 12 now. You know, I'll go to high school next. I remember one day standing lunchtime in the car park at the Savlamar Primary School where I used to attend. And I remember you used to be able to walk through Savlamar Primary School gate, go through one next little gate, go up on the play field, and go through one next gate through the front of Godfrey Stewart High School. So in Savlamar, we have Sav Infant, we have Sav Primary, and we have the Godfrey Stewart High School, all in proximity of each other. So you could walk through a shortcut. You can't do them things there again, but you could have done that back in the day. And I remember standing in the car park. I can't remember what I was eating, but I was eating. You know? And I remember I saw my mother in a blue jeans pants, a white long sleeve shirt, and my mother had cut off her hair. Her head was bald, like blue jeans pants, a white long sleeve shirt, and my mother had cut off her hair. Her head was bald like mine now, today. And I remember her coming up to me and rubbing my head. And she said, "What happened?" And I did not say anything. And she walked away. And I remember I stood there. I did not go back to class. And I cried. Up till this day, I don't know why. You know, I don't know why, but I cried. I cried. You know. No. Seeing my mother on that day, my mother was to come back. You know my mother do? My mother come back on one bicycle. Pick me up on a bicycle. Carry me down at the family court. And while we go to the family court, my mother is coaching me as to what to tell the counselor at the family court. No, I'm a child. I don't know what to do. My mother took me down there to the Savlamar family court. And she told me to tell the counselor that my stepmother is beating me. Which I did. See? No. My mother took me on that said bicycle to drop me off at my father's restaurant. And I remember my stepmother asking me, "Where are you coming from?" And when I start tell my stepmother, she tell me to shut up. And she wanted to fight my stepmother. She had a machete in her middle bicycle. Remember, you know them man that used to go a cane piece with them cutlass in her middle bicycle there, so. My mother had a cutlass in her middle bicycle. And she was threatening to use it on my stepmother. I remember that very summer. I woke up one morning and I did not see my father. Because me a man, you know, me love my father, you know, yo. My father my favorite person, you know. There's nothing now, I must all me pitney them me love more than my father, you know. So when me not see my father, you know, me not know, you know. When all night, when me go to my bed, if my father not come home, me not feel good, you know. Me can't sleep, me just a twist and a turn. Until me hear a car driving, and so me love my father, you know. See? Now I remember that said summer. One morning I woke up and I didn't see my father. You know? Then me hear the car driving probably about midday them time there, which my father normally come home midday. So when my father come in, I was on the veranda because I used to have my little toy car that I used to play with on the veranda. And him call me and say, "Duji." Say, "Yes, daddy." Say, "Come here, my boy." And I go to him and he jam me up on his lap. And he said to me, say, "You want to live with me, you want to live with your mother?" And I said, "I want to live with your daddy." And he said, "Alright." He rubbed my head. And he said, "Alright." I said, "You know where I come from?" I said, "No, daddy." He said to me, say, "You know, say, I mean, have you know for the last couple of years. Court me I come from. Your mother came me a court for child maintenance for you. And I me have you for the last couple of years." No. My father has never told me anything bad about my mother. Anything when me hear my mother say, I will go and ask him And that's how I would hear the story. My father would never sit down and tell me anything. Right? Now my mother left for England and I didn't see my mother for a couple of years. Well, probably about 4 or 5 years. One night time, I start to forget how my mother look. See? When I was in 7th grade, no lie, I was still in 6th grade. I never gone to 6th grade yet. I was telling about the incident. I remember waking up one morning and thinking to myself, why is it I always see my friend them with their mother? Why is it me not have no mother? Why my mother not love me? Why my mother treat me so bad? And you know what I did? I was to take a rope and go in a tree and made a knot with that rope. I put that rope around my neck. And I was to jump from that tree. And as I jumped from that tree and started to battle for life, my stepsister was coming out of the house. And she saw and she started screaming and running and she held up my legs off the ground. And she cried out. And all my neighbors came running. And they cut me down from that tree. They cut me down from that tree. Because I did not want to exist anymore, because I did not understand why is it that I don't have a mother. And I remember my father was so scared. My father said to me, Skip. He used to call me Skip. And he said to me, Skip, that what you're doing is so selfish. What about me? What will that do to me? I am your father. And I love you. And I remember for about a month, my father would not let me out of his sight. My father would not let me out of his sight for about a month. I had to go to counseling. I remember going to primary school and they would have devotions and everybody would pray for me. I was being watched constantly. My guidance counselor had to watch over me. They had meetings. I remember going to church and them praying for me at church. You know, and eventually everything normal out. You know, gone back to normal life, going back to school. I start to pick up, you know, because I start to learn how to spell, how to do maths, how to read. You know, things got so good where I ended up in a bride class, finally, for the first time. Who proud like I Dudge, you know? And I remember going to see my grandmother one day after not seeing her for many years. And my grandmother showed me some photographs of my mother and my siblings here in the United Kingdom. I am here today. I got loads of nephews and nieces and cousins, and I got my mother and my sisters and a brother here. And because of all of the toxicity surrounding my mother, I walked away from my family. I haven't seen them in about 6 or 7 years. And it's because I don't want anything to do with my mother. But I will get to that part of the story. Now, after going to see my granny and not seeing my mother for many years, at this point she would have left for England now. You know, I got back in contact with her through my granny. And, you know, she started to send me things. She sent me clocks, she sent me money. She buy me bicycle. All the while she's doing this. She's manipulating me. You know. I didn't realize until later on, but she started to tell me to be rude to my stepmother. You know. And started to tell me to do things to disrupt my father's home. And you know, you're pitting your gullible, you're not really too, I think, what go on, you know. No, my stepmother took great offense to that. And she started to treat me poorly as well. You know. I remember my stepmother stopped cooking. Or when she cooked, she didn't share anything for me. And she would tell me that she's gonna poison me and stuff like that. But that was all of my mother doing. I remember at 14-year-old. So this would have been about 2 years before I come to England now. Me and my stepmother had a massive falling out. And I called my mother. And my mother tell me to pack up my stuff them and go to her house. So here I am at 14 years old. I am on my own because my father never come back for me. You know. 14 years old. Big up for your gift, you know, everybody. I am on my own now, living. But one thing I never did do, I always went to school. I got up every morning and I went to school and I washed my uniform. And I had aunties and stuff who came and checked in on me and stuff like that. You know, but I was pretty much on my own. You know, my mother started to put me thing them together, because at this point I'm the only child down there left in Jamaica, you know. All of my sister them. My brother born in England, so my sister, my 2 sisters they gone to England, me never gone to England. You know. Couple of my cousins they gone to England. So I'm down there now by myself. I remember bumping into my father on the road, and my father said, Skip. I remember seeing bumping into my father on the road and my father said, Skip, you turn big man now. Make sure you continue your studies, sir. And he went in his pocket and he gave me $6,000. And he said to me, say, come for your lunch money. See? I know boy rich now cause money I come from. One Saturday morning, I used to go to Jamaica National Bank up there in uptown Sablamar to collect that money. And she told me what to do with the money and how much of the money I should take. You know, and I went to the supermarket and I bought all of the necessary stuff them, and you know, the money didn't, after doing what she told me to do with part of the money, and you know, the money couldn't buy all of the stuff them and send me go to school, you know. And at this point she tell me, say, stop go to your father for things, stop go to your father. Anything we want me we do it. So I oblige, you know. And I remember this particular weekend the money couldn't, you know. But because of how she is, I did not want to ask her. I eventually asked her down in the week, you know. And my mother said to me, what the blood clot you bother me for? Send money come give you last week. Where me forget blood clot money from? And that is when I realized that my mother had never changed. You know? Anyways, things are happening back and forth. I'm gonna speed up the story, you know. Fast forward to me think them come true, and I'm gonna go to England now, and she tell me, say, don't tell your father, say I come to England. But the way how me love my father, I could do that to my father, you know. I could do that to my father. So she asked me if I ask my Uncle Daniel. My Uncle Daniel, who is now deceased, if my Uncle Daniel can give me some money to get one vehicle to go to airport. Now anybody will know my Uncle Daniel know, say my Uncle Daniel no let go fee money so easy. See? So my Uncle Daniel said instead of give me the money, him will carry me. See? Sorry. Instead of give me the money, him will carry me. So I decided to tell my father. And when I tell my father said to me he will take me to the airport. And my father did come for me, him and my Uncle Daniel, and they took me to the airport. And when I was leaving, when I was in the middle of the airport and checked in and to walk through immigration, my father looked at me and he said, hey Skip, I don't feel good about this, you know. I don't feel good about this. It's better if you stay with me there, because for your little youth, your mother not like you, your mother not deal with a good youth. And I look at my father and I said, Daddy, I want to go get an education so I can come home and work at Jamaica. And he said, alright then. If that you say, go on. See? 8 months, first 8 months, I was in England. My mother put me out the door. First 8 months. Why my mother put me out the door? I started to attend college as a teenager. I was doing very well. Because anybody know about education system knows, say a Jamaica, we learn everything the hard way and the hardest way. So one time you go a foreign, for them look up pian work with them at gear in a school, you run through that. See? Because we learn everything the hard way at Jamaica. So I was well prepared. Right? I was doing so well, I enrolled in a business and finance course, and you know, me get my first certificate in an enterprise. So anybody will know enterprising be. Enterprise is when you set up a small business and you go through the motion, setting up the business, you know, set up a structure of the business, the paperwork, the monetary part, the buying the goods, selling the goods. And I did very well in enterprise, and I got my first certificate in enterprising. You know? And when my tutors saw that I completely obliterated that course, they sent for my mother. And they said to my mother, listen, this boy, him have the potential to go far. Them not time I'm start speak the Queen English yet. You see me I say? Them not time I'm fresh off my boat. Big up in a carol. And they said to my mother, he will go places, but you have to be there for him. Now I wanted to go and study one Saturday, and my mother wanted to go about her business. And my mother wanted to leave my little brother, who is a menace, with me. And I said, no, I need to study. And my mother looked at me and she told me that she did not take me to England to study. She took me here to look after my little brother and clean our house while she go to work. That is my mother, and that's what my mother told me. And that was the beginning of a very volatile relationship between me and my mother. You know, she would do a lot of provoking stuff to me, and I am a person, I will sit and I will say nothing. See? That is how I am. Whenever there's an argument or anything, I just disconnect. I don't say anything to you until I am ready. See? That is me. Now I can point to multiple plethora of things that has happened in these United Kingdoms since I have been here. And every time I would look at one of my sister who is older than me, and I say to them, our mother have done this. And my sister, the oldest one, sometime, because she get treated bad too, so sometimes she would oblige. Right? And then my middle sister, who is older than I am, she would assert every single time, lad man, you know say so she stay. So how me stay? And the things that she do will affect me. Me not no feelings. My mother would go on to throw me out of her house another 6 consecutive times. So that is 7 times now. See? On the third occasion, I called my father, my same father. And my father sent me, I remember going to Western Union to collect it. My father sent me £600 from Jamaica. And my father said, buy a ticket and come home, come cool out. And I came back to Jamaica, I believe at 19-year-old. And I came down with all of my certificates that I gained from Lewisham College. You can Google that. See? That is a good college. Right? Down there in Southeast London. And I went home for about 8 or 9 months. You know? And I looked for a job. You know, I eventually went to do the police exam. I did it first at the Godfrey Stewart High School, my alma mater, and I failed. And then I went to Montego Bay and I passed at that point. And when I was handing over my documents to the sergeant on the desk, you know, that sergeant over there in Montego Bay, he looked at me in front of everybody and he said, where you come here for? Where you come here so with them for? Where you come here so for? We cannot go on back where you come from with them. You know? And I was discouraged at that point, so I went home and I tell my father, you know, me not feel like my brother want to do this. But I would have been an asset. I would have been an asset to the Jamaica Constabulary Force because I was coming in at that time with level 1 and 2 in IT, you know, and there are certain things that I am savvy at in IT that could have helped, you know, the police at that point. And I got all of the necessary things them. I got all of the references from Pastor and JP and all of that. I was only left to do my interview. And before I did the interview to actually go to the police training, you know, I decided because of that discouragement that I wanted to go back to England and go further my studies. So at this point, I am back in dialogue with my mother and I am hoping that me and her can fix things so me can come and me can finish my education, you know. And my aim was always to serve Jamaica. My aim was always to get an education. My aim was always to get an education here and to go back home. To come back to England just to finish up my studies. And my father agreed because my father loved me. He brought me back. See? When my father took me, big up yourself in a shadow. When my father took me to Sangsters International Airport on this occasion, my father said to me, and I live by this quote till this day, my father said to me, Skip, I don't know if you come back, you can see me, you know. I don't know if you come back, you can see me. But you go to the people them country. While you're there, you need to observe the laws and the rules in their country and do not go trouble no drugs. You hear me say, Skip? No trouble no drugs. Everything we see me own in a life, my work and achieve that. You can do the same. And my father cry again, water run out of eye. I remember me kiss my father upon his cheek. I was a big man. And I came to England. I did not immediately enroll back into school. But I would have stayed here another 6 years without coming back home. Right? So now just imagine if I never have my father, what my life would have been growing up in a community like Russia, down there in Savlamar, and having the mother that I have. Just imagine me never have a father. And my father was to tell me, go on, go do what you can do. Because my father never stressed me out yet, you know. Him always tell me, say, just try. Just try. Don't say you can't do it, just try. Can you believe it, guys? In that scene, go home. When I went home, my father did not get to see me achieve anything. And he did not. Well, him see when me achieve my college certificate them, and he did tell me that he was very proud of me. But he did not live long enough for me to stretch my hand back to him. And today, this is one of my biggest regrets in life. Even though he wouldn't have wanted it, I know him. He's a very proud man. You know, him gonna tell us, say, Fim Pitney can't mind him. Right? My father went through what he went through with the whole John God Webley thing, and you know, all of that happened, and I came back to my father's funeral, and up till this day, that is the greatest devastation. There's not one day that goes by where I don't wake up and think about my father. There's not one night where I lay down to go to bed, wake up and think about my father. There's not one. So the year 2016, 1 year, or almost 1 year, 11 months after my first daughter, DUJON'S, was born. So he didn't even get to see his first grandchild from me. You know? And I went down. I remember me I show how terrible my mother be. My mother was in Jamaica like a week before my father died. You know? And by the way, I'm 34 years old and I have never seen, big up in a Philippine, I have never seen my father and my mother exchange a word in public. I've never seen it. You know, there's loads of stuff where me skip past what happened through the years. Like stuff where me ask me hear my mother say my father beat her up and sit and me ask my father. My father tell me one complete different story. I'm a believe in my father's side of the story because I catch my mother too much time I tell me lie. See? Anyways, I came back to my father's funeral in 2016. Guys, I was struggling so bad in 2016. I couldn't even find the money to go to my father's funeral. I had to borrow it. I had to borrow the money from my mother to attend my father's funeral. 26 years old, and I am struggling. I could hardly buy feeding for my daughter DUJON'S. Sometimes I'm the last 20 pounds I take and buy her. The time they could have get 2 or 3 tin of feed in England for like 14 or 16 pounds. I remember somewhere around there. You know? Sometimes I can only afford to put 3 pound gas in my car at the time. That's how much I was struggling. And I couldn't afford to go to my father's funeral. And I had to borrow the money from my mother. You know? I borrowed that money from my mother. I was struggling. I was in debt. I was paying my mother's rent. And every time I miss one rent, my mother kick off, you know, brother. Every time I miss one week rent, my mother kick off, say, you know, money have to take pay rent, all kind of something. So I was struggling. And I didn't even get to do. The most thing I could have done out of the money my mother lent me was help to do my father's program. But My father is from a rich family. He had his money, you know. So everything was taken care of by my uncle them and stuff. And you know, sidebar, this is for another story. My stepmother would go on to take everything that my father owned and not giving my father's children anything. So that's for our next story. And that caused a whole nother thing. You know? But I can tell you now, the last thing I did, when they were about to put him down in the hole, head, I rub, like how he used to rub my head. And I remember I felt the hairs, cause him head ball like for me now, and I felt the hairs on the top of his head, and his head was cool. So that is the last memory I had. And I was trying to be strong, guys. I remember when they sealed off my father's grave. That's when I broke down. You know, I remember falling to one knee. And I remember everybody running to come and hold me up. You know? So, for all of the years that I missed out with him and I didn't see him, you know, he still kind of rubbed me on a little way. You know? After my father's funeral now, you know, I would have thought, you know, me and my mother started not to move absolutely well, but, you know, maybe she think because my father dead now, you know, she would have gotten all of the attention. Now, on my father's first anniversary of death, I remember posting a post on Facebook. Me used to remember what I say, but I don't remember what I say anymore. But I remember telling my father in that post, you know, how much I love him and miss him. And my mother started a whole argument with me, saying, how comes me always oppose my father? And I say my father, me love my father, but me never post she say me love her yet. No. My love is something that you have to earn. You know, that's my love, you have to earn my love, and my mother never earned my love. You know, my mother has never told me at any time in my life. I can't remember ever. My mother, maybe when me a baby, me not intelligent enough to can know her here. But in my knowledgeable life, I have never heard my mother utter the words, I love you, to me. My mother don't even like other people pick me. He hardly like me. See? So, she was upset that I made a post about my dad, telling him how much I love him and miss him. And that started all of the bad blood all over again, right after my father's death. You know? Fast forward to 7 years ago. See? Fast forward to 7 years ago. I am still living with my mother. I left my daughter, DUJON'S, with my mother. I went to the garage to put something on my car. I was gone for 4 hours. Right? And On the 4th hour, my mother called me saying I should buy something, car come for the baby because the baby hungry. No, I didn't buy anything. I went home and I made something for my daughter. Before I made the thing for my daughter, I realized that my daughter had pooed in her nappy. And my mother did not change my daughter. When I took that nappy off my daughter, the poo was hard, dry and brown. That's how long it was on her for. Now, if many of you would not be upset, I was, you know. And I made a post. I made a post on Facebook. And I said on the post, Father God, I beg you to watch over my baby girl. Because I realize now, so if something was to happen to me, my child would have nobody. I don't know which one I dirty drunk, because I see me what they there run like a joke and me I say me sing grass sitting on. You know, we are run like a joke with two ladies them and me go say me sing with a screen record 3 different occasions send go give people. See? So I don't know who screenshot what I said and send it to my mother at the time. And big habaloo happened. I went to work. You know, because obviously I start get frustrated now. You know? And I said to my mother, in front of her husband at this point, I said to her, my mother, and I said this with tears running out of my eyes. I said, my mother, I don't know what me do. Make you hate me so. From a little pitney and I like me. And I see, say I same thing you want to do to my baby. See? Me da fry 2 egg, 1/2 a platen, and some sausage in the morning. And I could one Sunday morning. And I said that to her in front of her husband. And I said, mother, for me, I look up at me and I like me. What me do? What me do? Now, I went to work Sunday morning. This was the 29th of December. Anybody will know England, know say the last part of December into January and February, I 3 coolest month them then a year. Yeah, we freeze. See? And I went to work. My car at the time had just gotten written off and white man on his phone driving on me and right off my car, so I never drive at the time. And I work far away from where I live. I work 2.5 hours away from where. Into Lewisham, get the 108 to Stratford. From Stratford, I'll get one of the bus 25 going up to Ilford. From Ilford to Barking, from Barking to Dagenham. You know how much bus me I take? A long time that take. Right? And I came home from work 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, this would have been Monday morning now. You know, I had not eaten all that day, so I went to this shop that we call Chicken and Chip Shop at England. And I got some chicken and chips, some wings and chips. And I was eating that. And when I walked to my house, or to my mother's house, and I put the key in the door and I turned the key, I realized that the door is not opening. So I knocked. And when I knocked, my stepfather at the time opened the window upstairs and he said to me that Miss P said him not open the door. You know? So I said, you know, okay, no problem. I leave. I have to go to work. I have to go to work. So, you can please open the door. Let me just pack my little suitcase so I can get some clothes for work. And by the way, guys, I had nowhere to go. My sister, who I told you about, that always back my mother. When I went on my phone to call her to see if I can come up our house and sleep on the city till the next morning, I go to work, I realized that my sister, who I did nothing to, by the way, and I'm a one blood sister, me and her have the mother and out of all of my siblings them, and me and her alone have mother and father. And I realized that my sister had blocked me. My sister who I would have given anything to in this world. And many occasions, my sister called me. Hey Andrea, saying she not no gas money. And she not this and she not that, and I give it to her. And my one blood sister, my one full blood relative that. You know? And I realized that my sister had blocked me. And I had nowhere to go. No, they refused to open the door. So I called the police. And I told the police that, listen, I need to get some stuff. They said they had nobody available. So I said, alright then, I will kick in the door then. You know, the operator said, am I sin to a crime? I said, well, you can take you how you want, but me go kick off the door. Within 2 minutes, police was on the scene. See? She said she didn't want me in her house. The police made me go in and pack up some of my stuff them. And when I came through the door at something to 3 in the morning, right, I had nowhere to go. So I decided that the stuff that I took, I was gonna put on all of it, cover my head, and sleep on the bench in the park until the next morning I get up and go to work. Now, as I step foot in the park, I got a phone call from my friend Richie. And Richie said to me, say, yo, where are you? And I started to tell him. Richie was right around the corner from the park, guys. Right around the corner from the park. Now my auntie, when me telling you, I love so much, my PNP auntie. She my mother's sister. You know? And my auntie asked my mother, when me do her, why she treat me this way. Within hours, my auntie is looking to get an answer from my mother. My mother blocked her sister. My mother haven't talked to her sister now for 7 years because my auntie asked her, when me do her so, make sure treat me this way. See? Now back to Richie's story. Lo and behold, Richie was right around the corner from me and I started to tell him what happened. And Richie said to me, yo, mother me live with, you know. So, you have to go rub the floor. Give her a sheet on a pillar and you rub the floor. And by the way, Richie is African, but he go like him a Jamaican. Richie is from Congo. And I want to tell you that all of my Jamaican friends that I've reached out to, They have all abandoned me. Every single one of them abandoned me. Some say call me back. Some say me I go call her back. All now. Till this day, 7 years later. Richie, my African friend from Congo. Love a yard girl. He was the only one to help me. And when I got to Richie's house, Richie's mother was very welcoming of me. And Richie said, yo bro, I'll go to America for 3 weeks. So, let's go and run off the room and take the right place. My mother will go to America. 3 weeks. You say, don't worry yourself, man. Just chill out. Them time I used to get paid weekly. And I still had like £300 left to pay my mother out of the money where I borrow from him for go on my father's funeral. So I decided that I wasn't paying that last £300 that I owed. You know? And I decided that me nah make Richie and his mother come back and see me in our house either. So I put that £300 that I owe my mother and I make up that money. And yes, Chrissy, I go through with my girl. Look upon Doji. You remember how Doji used to rich when Doji a pitney? Doji come a fight, go suffer, all hungry. One night time me all dead. And me wake up back. See? And about 2 weeks after Richie and his mother left to go to America, I found a place, guys. Richie left all in car and left in car key give me and I never drive it. Remember me telling him my car crash. Found in car and left in car key give me and I never drive it. Remember me telling him my car crash. I'm gonna drive him, I take it bus and the train go work every day. And I stayed at Richie's house. And by the time Richie and his mother come back, I moved into my place. And when I moved into my place, the rest of stuff that was at my mother's house, me and Richie went there. And when me and Richie went there, she told Richie that he have to come in because I can't come in our place. You know? I have an older sister on my father's side in Canada who I no longer talk to. And the reason why I don't talk to that sister, I called her and I asked her to call my next sister and tell her mother say, free up my things them so I can go start over because I did just buy one big TV. My sister did give me one Chester jar. I just buy one big slide wardrobe. I put in chandelier, I put in rug, big bed and everything. I buy one nice fan. I one big jar of £1 and £2 kind of me I save. You know? And my mother said me can't come back in our house and me no own nothing in our house. So my mother held on. So my things that I could have helped me figure start over my life. My mother hold on for my things them. She hold on for my gold chain them. She take my saving pan me did with my saving them. She take my perfume. Me did some stuff for my car, tire and them sitting there, my sound system, everything. Me could have go in our house for go take my things them. So Richie could have only move out with my clothes them. And I took my clothes them and I never looked back since. And I swear, you know, as me get older, me kind of have her up less and less. But as long as this life stays in this body, I want absolute nothing to do with that woman. Now people are going to say me bitter. And people are going to say you have to forgive and you have to forget. I refuse to forget. And I will never forgive her. And as long as she lives, and as long as I live, that is an oath I made to her. I told her this to her face. That the next time you throw me out of this house, this is the last time you will deal with me in her life. And I meant that to my very core. And you see all the things them what my mother do to me, I could have looked past them. But that's when I see she try to do the same thing with my little daughter. I will never forgive her, ever in this life. You know? What are the chaps?
The Rasta. The I Dujon.
Yeah, man. Manners and respect, you know?
Story Rasta.
Well, more and the masses know, say, I know me alone go through this, and enough pick me come in.
It's powerful, but you know, it. Yeah. It just tells you that sometimes registration people, you know, and we speak about life, voters achieve certain things. Numbers they have been we don't know them story in the swing states with party registration. We don't know them journey. So for you now to achieve anything in life, and a man to envy you, not knowing where you come from and the struggles. And everybody America and England and Canada live kosher, you know, brother. Rough. But your old man is a tower of strength. My father was the same thing, Bridget. I lost my father when I was in the United States too. And the sort of things that you wanted to do for your old man, you just never get a chance to do it. And the same thing, I share the same vibes, you know. But you live with a memory knowing the values them teach you. You hang on to that for dear life and you don't let it go.
Yeah, man.
Hold on to it.
Anytime you see me father.
Powerful story, my general.
Anytime I look in the mirror, you know, chaps. You see, anytime I look in the mirror, I look in the mirror.
Your uncle was a general, you know. I tell you that, you know.
Yeah, man.
Your uncle was a real general, you know. Somebody, me tell you some respect, you know. Respect goes out to the man there. Yeah, man, he was just one of the most humble individual I know. And I don't know half any labor rights that is more labor right than Daniel does.
I mean, man.
God bless him soul.
I mean, me can't take over.